What's up, everybody? Steve Schwartz here from LSAT Unplugged with a breaking news update about how you can get a sneak peek of what LSAC's new logic game section might look like. Before I get into it, please do me a favor, like this video, leave a comment sharing what you think, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps with that YouTube algorithm, and I really do appreciate it. So anyway, on to it. How can you get a sneak peek of what the new logic games section might look like? Next month, in mid-December, specifically on December 16th and 17th, LSAC will be conducting a free online field study where they will give you the chance to take the new LSAT logic games style questions in a test day-like setting. They'll be administered via ProctorU. You will get one section of the old regular logic games style questions along with two sections of their experiments for new logic games style questions. This is totally free, no obligation, but if you do it, which I recommend that you do, you will get some LSAC free services. You will be able to choose from things like a free CAS report or a free LSAC score report or some free LSAT books or a couple other things. Details are on the site as their thank you for participating in this free online field study. Now, why are they doing this? Well, let's backtrack to 2017 when a blind test taker, Angelo Bino, sued LSAC saying he was at an unfair disadvantage because he couldn't benefit from using scratch paper on logic games like everyone else can. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Why don't you try doing logic games without any scratch paper, no ability to take notes or diagram, and see how it goes for you? Chances are, probably wouldn't go very well. So in fall 2019, Mr. Bino settled with LSAC, which agreed to complete research and development into a new version of the test without the logic games, without the current logic games section within the next 4 years. So in fall 2019, they agreed to complete that research and development into a new version of the test within the next 4 years. That brings us to fall 2023. We're currently in November 2022. So LSAC is really getting into this research that will, as they said, enable all test takers to take a version of the test without the current logic games section. I am partially quoting here language from the joint press release between Mr. Bino and LSAC. I will link it below this video. So this field study is part of the research and development they are conducting. For those of you who've been studying the LSAT for a while, you might have seen my video back after the June 2022 LSAT, when LSAC gave some test takers an unscored experimental section on test day that contained some bizarre logic games style questions that were also meant to serve the same purpose, to help LSAC explore potential alternatives to what the current logic games section would be. These were similar somewhat to formal logic questions you see in the logical reasoning section of the LSAT currently. Maybe these kinds of questions are less prone to or less susceptible to diagramming. So maybe diagramming would not be as useful, putting sight impaired test takers on more of a level playing field with those who can see. So this is just some background on why we've gotten to this point and why LSAC is conducting this field study in December. So, of course, LSAC still has roughly another year to continue conducting this research. The June experimental section was just one part of that. This December field study is another part of that. You may be wondering, of course, when will they start administering tests without the current logic game section? It probably won't be for quite a while. Before they do, they will give plenty of notice, likely several months. They've also promised on their website, you can see this in the details around this December field study, that they will release sample questions in the new style of logic games to give you a chance to study them first before they actually ever appear on a real scored LSAT where they count. So again, they've never administered scored new logic games questions. We've seen only the same logic games questions on the scored portions of the LSAT going all the way back to June 1991 with very, very small, relatively insignificant changes. So we still have quite some time, likely at least a year, if not more time, for them to figure out exactly what the new logic games will look like before administering them on a scored portion of the LSAT. Now, if you hate logic games, you might be celebrating the change. If you love them, you might be worried. Everybody, please just chill out for a minute. Nothing is changing in the short term. If you are applying this cycle or the next, you will almost certainly be taking the LSAT with the current scored logic game section. LSAC is a bureaucracy. They move very slowly, and they want to make sure they get it right before putting new styles of questions on the scored LSAC. This December field study with these experimental logic games alternatives are just part of their research and development process. If we look back into LSAT history a little bit, the most recent significant change to the LSAT was the dual or comparative passages that were introduced in June 2007. Prior to their introduction, LSAC gave plenty of notice and also provided free sample questions prior. This is, of course, an even bigger change, so they will certainly give sample questions, which they have promised to do, and they will also give plenty of notice. If you're worried about this and you want to take it with the current logic games section and you're applying in the next few years, I definitely recommend taking it now before there are any changes made to the LSAT, because whatever sample questions they provide will be a pretty limited set. In contrast, there are already approximately 400 released logic games that were actually administered on test days that you can practice on. So you'll have a lot more practice material available if you take the current LSAT versus whatever the new one might look like. And just for some peace of mind, logic games is the most learnable section of the LSAT in my experience. Even if you're not good at math, I certainly wasn't and struggled a lot with logic games at first, ended up conquering them in the end. And I see it happen all the time for the students in my LSAT courses. So you can learn them. They are conquerable. If you're worried about the changes, take it now. You have plenty of time to take it, whether you take it in November or January or February or April or beyond into 2023. You'll have the current LSAT available to study from. You'll have the current LSAT available to take versus whatever the new one might look like. Anyway, folks, any changes happen, I will, of course, keep you updated. Keep an eye on this channel. Keep an eye on my emails. I will update you with any new information as I learn it. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching. Again, please like this video, leave a comment sharing what you think about all of this, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really does help. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them, and feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.